Hello, I'm David Liesenfeld, pastor of Rock Valley Christian Church, here for today's time of prayer, and it's inspired by the book of Romans, chapter 12, and we'll begin here in verse 16, where it says, "Be of the same mind toward one another. Do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinion. Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. And if it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men." Now these verses give us a lot of teaching by the Apostle Paul that's very similar to that which Jesus was teaching when he walked on the earth. And that is to be humble before others, to not be wise in our own opinions, to be poor of spirit, contrite in heart, to be teachable, to be meek, to be gentle, and to have an approach to people that is considering their needs and who they are, and as much as depends on us, to live peaceably with all people, repaying no one evil for evil. Now, a lot of times we would think that in this world, that's where we're going to encounter the need for this kind of instruction. But actually, the more you live, you might be finding in the home that you're living in, that's where you find where people have a little more contempt with one another. Maybe they treat people in a way that's not as good, where they let their hair down at home and they treat one another in a way that's not as good as maybe they would even treat some stranger on the street. And if that's what it is for you, I want you to think about these verses and realize that in our homes where marriages, over 50% of them end in divorce, it usually happens because we start repaying evil for evil. As human beings, it's very natural for us to get in a habit that when we're treated poorly, we treat poorly back, that we repay people with what they do. But the Christian mindset is very different. It is not about being wise in our own opinion. It's not about being puffed up and be looking at how people are treating us, but rather what we do is we think about how God treated us. We think about who He was to us, the way God humbled Himself in order to serve us. And then we think, well, how can I humble myself to serve those people who are around me? Now, this is a much easier said than done thing. To be humble around the people that are in our homes that we interact with every day, to be humble around the people that we go to work with when maybe we're used to working together, or maybe it is the stranger, the people that are in our neighborhoods where we need to take this instruction to heart. Wherever it is for you, what I want us to do is pray and ask God during this time of prayer to help us and bless us, that we would not repay evil for evil, that if someone is unkind to us, we would not treat them in an unkind way back, but we would learn how to be like our Father in heaven, who is merciful, who is kind to the unthankful and to the evil. God is godly all the time, and He's called us to walk in His ways of godliness, to follow Him, to be humble before others, and to have good things in regard. It says, as much as it is possible, live peaceably with all men. That means that we will have to be humble. That means that we cannot take offense when somebody is not treating us the way we might deem them appropriate or the way we might want them to treat us. People will make mistakes. People will do things that might be rude or unkind, but that's no reason for us to give into that unkindness and start changing the way we behave from a place of where we want to be following Christ and doing what's good, to be like someone in the world who maybe is just making a mistake, or maybe it's even something we just didn't understand. Let's learn to be humble before one another. Let's treat people with kindness, and let's, as much as possible, live peaceably with all mankind, showing respect, showing deference for others, considering others better than ourselves. And we will see wonderful changes in the world around us. But let's ask for God's help, because this is not natural, this is supernatural, to live in a godly way when those around us might not be acting so godly. So let's seek Him for His help. Let's expect it. Let's believe in faith that He will help us. Let's pray.